Today I'm going to teach you how to find any reptile or amphibian you want. And don't get me wrong, the more work you put into stuff, the more it's going to pay off when you get out in the field. Sometimes effort expended in the field can be difficult, but that's okay. That's how we learn. So first we have to start with a species. Maybe something you've always wanted to see since you were a kid, or something you were flipping through your field guide, found something. Maybe you were browsing a website and stumbled on something new. For our purposes today, let's go with a northern slimy salamander. So, do we just run out the door and start looking? Probably not. We need to know, what do we know about this species, right? We know its favorite game is hide and go slime, so you may not be very successful. Maybe you're a birder, and I know birders tend to share exact GPS locations of interesting and rare birds. For example, the dizzy-beaked flutterchirp. So you decide to get out on the internet forum and ask somebody to give you a location where they're regularly found. That's probably going to fail. The herper community has been historically plagued by poachers finding locations of high-value species and completely decimating populations. On top of that, it left some of us with a pretty bad stigma in our community. So, what can we do? Well, let's start with habitat. So if we go ahead and Google how to find a northern slimy salamander, first thing we see right up here, habitat and diet. The slimy salamander is restricted to second growth deciduous forests. Hey, that's a really good start, right? Also rocky slopes, hides under rotten logs, thick layers of leaves on the forest floor. It requires wet or moist areas for breeding purposes. That gives us some pretty good clues, right? Let's try to get more specific, though. This looks like it came from Connecticut.gov. Interesting. Let's say we're herping in Pennsylvania, right? So there's some specific websites out there. Here's paherps.com. Let me get rid of this. There we go. Give you a little better view. And we're just going to go ahead and find the profile species of the northern slimy salamander. Alright, here we go. Northern slimy salamander, habitat, heavy forested areas, open shale-covered embankments and hillsides adjacent to dense forest. That gave us some pretty new information that may or may not be specific to Pennsylvania, but we know this website is, and that's where we're herping. So, hillsides adjacent to dense forest. It's not hard to find in the right parts of Pennsylvania, right? We can scroll through here and learn more about the slimy salamander, but we kind of need to know, is it going to be in the area we're herping? Well, I'm going to be somewhere up in here. So green, verified since 2013. That's a good sign. We know they're going to be there, at least during the right time of year, right? So that brings us to a couple more questions. What is the right time of year? We jump over to Herp Mapper, look up our northern slimy salamander, Plethodon glutinus, and right here we get a chart of when they're typically found. So this is a little concerning. It's August, and August is a very light month. Are they still out there? Yeah, absolutely. But knowing this, it may be a little bit harder. Obviously, it looks like in May and April we'd do a lot better, or even September and October. So if you find yourself striking out, we may need to adjust based on these maps here and figure out when's the right time to go. Here's another example of, are they in the region where I am? There's a lot of references out there for maps, so make sure you make use of them. All these resources, I'll put links down in the comments below. So now we got a pretty good idea. We know its habitat and specific to Pennsylvania. What was that? Hillsided slopes. We know the time of year it's found. It's a good start. We can go ahead and find some other clues. Here's the area that we've been herping, or probably going to be herping in. And we can see that, yeah, it's found in that area quite frequently. So we jump over to some maps. One question is, where can I go that I'm allowed to be that is also going to be the right habitat? right? Well, here's the Appalachian Trail in this region of Pennsylvania, and as you can tell, it's the Appalachian Trail, so clearly I'm allowed to be there. So we're going to try this area out. And we read that, dense forest and hillsides adjacent to dense forest. Well, if you're familiar at all with topographical maps, or even if you're not, this shows us the landscape of the area. The closer the lines are together, like for example here, where you start getting that dark shading, that's a very, very steep cliff going from 300 to 400 meters in this gap right here. Up here, we can see there's some plateauing. The wider apart the lines are, the more level the ground is, the less elevation climb change there is. So, okay, we know there's hillsides here. Here's a pretty nice one right here, which seems navigable. We're not going to fall off the cliff. There's a nice hillside here and here. So we have some options, right? But this is a topographical map, and do I necessarily know this is forested? Maybe not. So what can we do? Well, let's jump over to Google Earth and take a look where we plan on herping. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, and here's our Appalachian Trail. And as we can see, even from this map, it's clearly deciduous forest, and that is a good sign. So here's the Appalachian Trail on this dotted line. We have various degrees of hillsides, as we saw on the topographical maps. Here's some of those cliffs. But okay, so now I have a location. It matches the requirements of everything I looked up, and I'm allowed to be there. I'm not going to be trespassing. I'm not breaking any laws. All right, now I have an idea of where to go. We can zoom around and see the landscape here if you want. Kind of mountainous, part of the Appalachians, of course. All right, so we read that they live under rotted logs and rocks on sloped hills in an area we know we're allowed to be. So let's just get out there and start flipping over some cover and see what we can find. We'll see you out there. So I may be in salamander habitat here, but I'm also in timber rattlesnake habitat here in northern Pennsylvania. So timber rattlesnakes love to ambush prey by lining up along the side of a log, and a log like this, it looks perfect for salamanders. I need to be pretty careful rolling it over so I don't put my hands under it in the edges where I can't see. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this carefully towards me, and unfortunately nothing under this one. So once again, when I'm flipping a log in timber or rattlesnake country, venomous snake country in general, I roll it towards me. Same with rocks. Gives me a shield if there's anybody underneath it, and it's better than sticking my fingers blindly where I cannot see. So once again, nobody's home, but we'll keep on trying. All right, here we go. This is a slimy salamander in textbook habitat. If I expose his head, he might bail into deeper cover, but we'll try. Now, their defense mechanism is pretty cool. They secrete a glue, and that glue makes them very unpalatable. Hey buddy, come here. Okay, there we go. Stay right where you are. You're fine. There you go. I'm not going to harass this little guy too much. Just want to show you they're very pretty. Large, well, medium-sized salamander. Here's my hand for reference. And they're common. We talked about how to find their habitat as an example of targeting specific species. Well, here we go. We're in textbook habitat on a wet hillside under wet wood. Everything's textbook right here in the area we identified. So we'll put this log back. The habitat here is textbook, wet hillside, on a slope in the shade textbook. So one of many northern slimy salamanders today. You can see he's hanging out next to the snail shell. I'm going to have to move him though to be able to put his rock back. Just switch hands real quick. Move the snail shell and he'll probably follow. Alright buddy, you ready? There we go. Alright, he's clear. Well, thank you for following along, and hopefully that gets you on the right track to be able to find just about any reptile and amphibian that you want. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and also if you want to see the other things that I found while out on this trip, in this video I only put the northern slimy salamanders, but there were other species I put out there, and all of them will be available in this link up here. Where is that? Right up there. Yeah, follow the arrow. Anyway, like and subscribe, and check out the next video. Thank you.